One of the trans men known to this publication said in Botswana it feels like people are aware of transgender community, but many choose to ignore their presence. He said even when they have things like transcripts or identification documents, some people still act like they do not exist. He noted that there are also challenges with official documents. For instance, if one's ID says a female but one present differently, people start questioning their identity or treat them with suspicion. He pointed out that it becomes even more difficult when one is applying for jobs or accessing services because their identity does not match people's expectations.
Mo society ga go bad nowadays because I think these people, they know gore the gona le batho ba tshwana le bo rona, gona le di-trans men, gona le di-trans ladies. Just that ela ba ignore the fact that gore we are there. So ko tirong ke gone ko e leng gore ke gone ko re nnang close le batho teng, ke gone ko e leng gore di-challenge tsa teng di dintsi di ditona mo e leng gore motho kgona go botsa gore like, are you a lady or are you a man, or ko ra go botsa ka nnetane ya gago ga o sa arabe be nna kare o nna le go batla gore o mo arabe. I guess sometimes ga ra arabe gore re se ka ra causa di-conflicts and stuff. Ka gore ga ra motho gore I'm a trans man, o taba a simolola a batla go tshwara go bona gore do you have breasts, do you have this and that. So most of the time nna ka nna ke tswa mo go bone ka go se ka ga arabe. And mo gongwe mo go challenge-ang ke obviously how it reduces our IDs again. Ga re hiriwa, so ga re hiriwa re dirisa ID, obviously my ID is F. Highly F yalo, ha o tsena ko spanning, obviously they will identify you as F ka gore they know gore re hirile this person wa F. Yaanong ha o sa arabe ba bereki ka rona batho ba ra arabela gore it's an F, ke female, mo gore go tla go simolla go thakathakanya go nna le dikgethonyana.
Transgender activist who is a trans woman, 𝐓𝐫𝐾𝐲 said trans rights are human rights. She said they all deserve the freedom to live authentically, to be who they are, and to identify in ways that reflect their true selves.
If you know me, you'll know that ke trans nna batho. I've worked in the trans movement for so long, and trans people are like my people, and that's why I said trans rights are human rights, and we all need to know that everyone has the right to live freely, to be who they are, and identify how they identify.
Meanwhile, founder of Rainbow Identity Association, an organization which advocates for transgender people, 𝐋𝐢𝐯𝐞𝐫 said the Constitution of Botswana does not legally recognize transgender people. He said if they are not legally recognized, they face challenges which include obtaining an ID, as an ID might not correspond with one's physical appearance.
Of Rainbow Identity Association, an organization that advocates for trans and intersex persons in Botswana. The organization started in 2008 as a support group and was legally registered in 2010 December. We do advocate for trans and intersex people, but your question regarding trans issues and challenges that trans and intersex trans people face, I would speak to the issue of legal recognition. Trans people are not legally recognized by the Constitution of Botswana or the legal frameworks of Botswana. Therefore means if you're not legally recognized, then it means there are so many challenges that one will be faced with. Challenges such as obtaining an ID, which we call it 𝐷𝐷𝐷, and 𝐷𝐷𝐷 means who are you, and if you have ID that does not correspond with your physical appearance, that becomes a challenge. And for one to get their ID, change, one needs to obtain a court order. We have seen trans people taking the government to court for their gender mark change. Gender mark, we are looking at the middle number, the fifth number in the ID, which represent the gender of the person that holds that ID. So we have trans people who have challenged the courts to obtain the ID.
And in some instances, some choose to transit socially. She said humanity is the journey that needs support, and transitioning should not be done in isolation. Rather, transgender people should look around their societies for support in their journey.
I would just like to say to trans people in the room and to our allies in the room that humanity is a journey that needs support from your people around you, your family, your friends, and transitioning shouldn't be done in isolation. Rather, look to people around you who support you, who offer you confidence, who offer you privacy, who offer you support, who offer you solidarity. Dr.
Miriam Brooks, a medical professional working closely with the transgender community, has encouraged transgender individuals to seek help whenever they need support. She also called on fellow healthcare providers to offer assistance to transgender people without discrimination, emphasizing the importance of dignity, respect, and inclusive care for all.
Patients who are transgender, some come because they're transgender and they've heard that transgender people are welcomed at our clinic. Some people come and when we ask them about who they are as an individual, which we ask everyone, we learn that they're transgender incidentally. Sometimes we get referred patients come to us because they have some kind of mental health concerns. They're depressed, they're suicidal, they are suffering emotionally. And as we try to understand why that is, we find out that they're transgender or genderqueer or somewhere on the gender spectrum that isn't like the classic binary. And the thing that I think is most important for medical people to remember is that transgender people are people who have bodies, who have healthcare problems, who have the same issues that all of us have. So I would say that at least 50% of the care that I provide for a transgender adolescent or young adult is just support. So emotional support, validation, reminding them that they deserve to be treated fairly, reminding them that they deserve to be treated like human beings, and that they should manage their medical problems. So, if I think that they weigh too much, I will, tell them the same thing I tell anybody who weighs a little bit too much. Or if they don't weigh enough, I'll tell them the same thing I tell to anybody who might be malnourished. If they're smoking cigarettes, I tell them I'm worried about that, right? Because I want them to live long and fruitful lives. And if they have a family history of heart problems, then I make sure we monitor that. So it's the same kind of care for any other human being on the planet.
2024, according to court papers, a transgender woman, 𝐓𝐫𝐾𝐲𝐝, succeeded in her bid to have her gender on her identity card changed from male to female. This was a giant step in achieving inclusive democracy for minority groups such as transgender people. The Gaborone High Court ordered the Registrar of Births and Deaths to amend the registrars to reflect 𝐋𝐢𝐯𝐞𝐬 as female and not as male. 𝐋𝐢𝐯𝐞 was suing the Civil and National Registration for refusal to change the gender marker on her identity documents. Justice Latile Dambia ordered that the amendment in the registry must must be done within 7 days of the court order. The Mbes order followed a consent agreement by the parties. Government had agreed to withdraw a notice of motion to oppose the application and filed a motion to abide. The registrar of the births and deaths was not cited in the initial proceedings, was also joined in the midterm. Justice Dambe ordered the registrar of the national registration was directed to issue the applicant with a new identity card, identify her as a female within 21 days of this court order. Meanwhile, Southern Africa Litigation Centre SALC representative Anna Molai-Charms highlighted that some transgender individuals in Botswana have successfully received legal support from the organization, leading to key court victories. She emphasized the SALC's commitment to advancing the rights of transgender people through strategic litigation and advocacy.
Gender persons, because our work is legal, mostly we do strategic litigation, we support organizations to do legal reform in different countries in Southern Africa, including Botswana. So I would say in terms of comparatively, if I look at all other countries in Southern Africa, besides South Africa, in Botswana, probably, transgender persons fare well, a little better than in most countries, because we have legal jurisprudence, existing legal jurisprudence since 2018. That was a case that was won in the High Court in Botswana, the ND case, that's what we call it, which was a trans man who was seeking legal gender recognition, being able to change his name, being able to change his pronouns and all his identity documents, birth certificate and umang to the identity that suits him. So because of that legal precedence, trans persons, yes, there are challenges, but a few trans people have been able to change their, have been able to access legal gender recognition because of that. There are challenges that we can go into, but yes, because of that and a few other cases that, of course, trans people have benefited from, including decriminalization, including freedom of association, that has also support the trans people in terms of legally.